right, guys, we're out here with Brandon Bridge this week. We're talking mindset today. Brandon, you're also known as Nine Banger on Instagram. You want to give us a little bit of background of that name?
There is no real background to that one. That's just a catchy name that kind of looked sexy when I created it. I was tired of having the same handle for a while, but really the background behind it was when you're a new guy in a certain operational environment, there's always something that we call a familiarization or a FAM that all of the new guys are going to go to. And when I was a brand new private, I remember our first time in the shoot house, the FAM that we were going to do was we're going to do a banger FAM, and all the brand new dudes are going to learn how to throw flashbangs. We're like, yeah, badass. Well, the FAM consisted of all the privates getting in a brand new room and into a very small confined space, and then the next thing we know, I was like, oh, there's no team leaders around. How are we doing this FAM? And there's, oh, there come the bangers, and just throw a whole bunch of bangers in the room. Yeah, it was a fun day.
Gotcha. Awesome. So tell us a little bit about yourself, about your background, your history, and what you do now.
So what I do now is I'm a newer police officer in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I've been doing police work for coming up on 3 years now. Before that, I was a firearms trainer in the Dallas-Fort Worth area while working for a fairly successful ammunition company. Before that, my true background is ex-military. I was part of 375 for about 5.5 years. 5 rotations total, soaked up a whole bunch of really cool schools, served with a bunch of really cool guys. I was part of a direct action strike force for about 3 deployments, and then after that got the opportunity to go over to one of our smaller reconnaissance teams and did a lot of cool stuff within the reconnaissance teams. But that's kind of the bread and butter of my background. I like to bring all of that to what I do now.
Yeah. So you spent some time in Ranger Battalion. What was your biggest takeaway from your time?
I think my biggest takeaway was, I mean, it's so cliche to say, but definitely attention to detail. When you spend an entire life having to be depended on, and you spend your entire life depending on other guys, being able to take care of yourself, take care of your business, and being someone that another guy can say, yeah, that guy's got my back, is definitely the biggest thing. Purpose and drive is another thing that I really took away from my time in regiment, and I really brought it to the rest of my life. I had a seriously hard time when I first got out. I mean, knock on wood, it's not as hard as a lot of guys have, but I found myself at that low spot, and being able to have a drive to, when you get out, find a job, find a purpose, find something to do. I think that's what really was the big takeaway from uniform military service over to this side of life now.
Mm-hmm. So did you ever have a bad day in your time at Ranger Battalion? I know you're still fairly new with the PD, but how did having a bad day affect your preparation, affect your mindset, and better prepare you going forward?
Bad days in uniform military service and deployment lifestyle are going to be night and day difference from the bad days we have at the office and a local law enforcement setting. Of course, not to downplay anything, but you're going to have terrible days in law enforcement as well. But you know, the thankful things is I'm not, you know, humping gear 12K up the Afghan mountains anymore in the darkness, you know, trying to find my way. Now the bad days that I have in law enforcement are a little bit more of their own style. You're going to be helping people that are in some of the worst positions they can be. You're going to be responding to accidents, and you're going to see kids that are hurt. And the biggest takeaway from all of it is to always keep a positive mentality. One of the biggest takeaways from military was always being in a really bad spot, whether it's raining, you know, waist deep in mud, and whatever course you're in, or if you're overseas and you're being shot at, to kind of look around and say, you know, this sucks, but there's a way out of it. Mm-hmm. And I think local law enforcement, you know, the couple of years I've been doing PD work now, is say, you know, this mundanity of the job, admin, whatever it may be, or, you know, that bad call I was just on where that kid got hurt. Look at it and say, I'm still here, I still have a purpose, and then keep driving on with the same tenacity that you did beforehand.
Yeah.
It's kind of the way I look at my bad days now.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, a lot different.
Every day has a purpose.
Yeah. So how hard was that transition from military? I mean, because it wasn't a direct transition, right?
It wasn't a direct transition.
So how hard was that transition, and what was it that drove you to pursue that, to pursue PD as opposed to something else?
So one of the biggest things that I got out for was I still wanted to, I did my time, I lost a couple buddies, and, you know, it was time for me to get out, and I separated from the military, and I found myself wanting to do the stereotypical bro vet that you see every other guy doing. I worked as a firearms trainer for a few years, was working with an ammunition company, bringing that social media aspect to it. And eventually, it's the cliche thing that I always say is, you hear, is that you don't miss the job per se, but you miss the camaraderie. Mm-hmm. And that was a big hole in my life, was I missed that camaraderie. I missed having a purpose. I missed working with a team, and I missed, like I said earlier, depending on somebody, having somebody depend on me. And in my time working on local ranges and working with both civilian and law enforcement, I started to realize that there is a purpose out there again. There is small communities with camaraderie in it, and local law enforcement really fit the bill. Met a bunch of solid guys. One of them's here today. He's going to be shooting with us. He was one of the ones that said, hey, bro, I'm going from one department to another. They're having a hiring test, and I dare you to take this test. So I went out and took the test. Did really well on it, and figured, you know what, maybe this uniform is going to be the next thing that I do. And sure enough, having that purpose and having that uniform has been a blessing in my life.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it seems like, I've known you for a little while, and it seems like, and having gotten to learn your story over time, and a little bit more about you, but it seems like from going into the military, through Ranger Battalion and now into PD, it's like you've been in this constant state of evolution. And so how would you say that you've evolved as a person, from that beginning to now?
More gray hairs is really all I got to say about that.
Okay.
The evolution's kind of the same. I still feel like I'm the same person that I was when I was in that uniform. I've learned a lot of different things along the way that come with a whole different skill set and a whole different job. But the evolution is still there. Like we talked earlier about mindset and everything. As long as you're willing to find out what kind of state you're in and say there is something better, you're always going to find something better. It's like for anybody who's thinking about going military to law enforcement or military to whatever, find that next evolution, find that next step that you want to be, and pursue it with everything you are.
Yeah. So you talked about the guys you got here. You talked about guys, missing that brotherhood in the service, and having those guys you could depend on. And I see you train with. You have a solid group of guys you train with. You post some videos, and you guys are out together. Why is that so important to you? Like why? How did you guys meet, first of all?
Okay.
And then, why is it so important for you to have that as opposed to just going out on your own? On your own.
You have to have, so in short, what I like to say is always find someone that's better than you. Find the guy in the room that's better than you and figure out what he's doing and figure out how you can be more like him. When I got out, I found that I was, I felt like a bigger fish in a very small pond. Here I am, ex so-and-so doing this, doing that with a resume that's actually somewhat impressive. And you're going to find that doesn't always fit into civilian life. You're going to have to find kind of that pond that you fit in with, and finding other veterans on ranges and gun shops, where it may be, even the gym, at school, where it may be. Find the guys that are like you, find the guys that are better than you, both personally and professionally, and figure out how you can emulate them and figure out how you can become part of their world. And that's kind of what brought me over to law enforcement. Was I was training with a lot of law enforcement guys on the range. And like we mentioned earlier, seeing that camaraderie and wanting to go back to a team environment, that's what drew me to them, and that's why they're still big parts in my life. I mean, I'm still talking with, and the guy standing here has still been with me for the past 5 years since I got out. So that's kind of the biggest takeaway I had from that, and that's where I met them, and that's where they're still staples in my life.
Awesome. No, that's awesome. So to lighten the mood a little bit, you get a lot of jokes on Instagram about having the best forearms, arms in the industry, best hair. So nothing I can do about the hair, but
damn you, Will.
You want to talk a little bit about your your workout regimen and how what role fitness plays in your daily life.
If you're gonna crush a case of beer, you have to crush a case of tacos. That's my workout plan right now. No, I don't have much of a workout plan. For me, going to the gym and doing whatever I do in the gym has honestly been more of a mental thing than a physical thing. I'm not trying to be the biggest guy in the room.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to go out there and be as big and yoked as I can be. What I'm just trying to do is try to stay healthy, try to stay active. And I find that the gym or going on a run or going on a ruck or coming out to the range and working out here and getting some rounds down range within a gym schedule.
Yeah.
Really is more of a mental thing than it is a physical thing. The big arms joke is all Will Petty. Okay, and I'll say that.
Okay.
But
well,
yes,
I think there is, I think, and I'm sure you would agree, there is an aspect that guys need to be in good physical shape for the line of work that you do. Some of the guys you have to deal with maybe on something
bigger than you.
Yeah, bigger than you.
Wearing
a lot
less
of guys
gear,
bigger
wearing,
than me. Yeah.
Wearing less gear than you.
Yeah.
I do to make it a more serious answer. What I do when I do go to the gym is a lot more cardio than I used to do, and a lot more circuit workout than I used to do. When I got out and when I was still in, it was all the bro workouts. Let's see how yoked I can get. Let's see how much weight I can move around for very short periods of time. And what I do now is more honest circuit work.
Okay.
A little bit lighter weight, longer duration. I've gotten a little bit more into CrossFit since I've been out of the military. It was a big joke when I was in. Now it's actually something decent that you can work out.
Yeah.
For all my local law enforcement dudes and gals, what I like to say is work on your cardiovascular activity, like how long you can actually work for a certain period of time. What is your max effort for as long as you can go? Because when you got to take that dude down, or you know, whatever it may be, you're going to find that some dudes can go a little bit harder than you can, and you're going to be wearing more gear than they are. So push yourself. I like circuit routines. I make up circuits in the gym, and I just whatever I feel like I want to work that day is what I'll make up. Social media is a really good place to find a lot of workouts. There's a lot of different outlets out there where people are posting their workouts. Find the people, like I said. Find the biggest dude in the room. Find the people that you look up to and figure out what they're doing and do that. That's
awesome.
A good starting point.
Yeah. So I see online you also compete in some local matches around the area.
Yeah.
There's a Wednesday night one and a couple others I've seen you shoot at. Why is that important to you? Like, what role does that play in preparing you for your line of work, or is it one of those things where it's just a means to like mentally decompress?
By no means am I out there competing in 3-gun, and by no means am I like this huge competitor. I do local fun matches because it's more of a social thing than anything. I have a solid group of guys I like to go out with and do these local matches, and they're a good stress reliever, a good skill builder, a good way to meet other shooters, like-minded people. The biggest thing I've been getting into lately is trying to go with the guys that I work with and actually go out to matches to test our skills.
Yeah.
To answer your question in a much more specific way, is back when I was in, it was how fast can I kill a person, how fast can I land accurate shots on minute of man, and just keep on moving. Now in this uniform that I find is you're held accountable for everything that you do. Every little shot you take, it has to be accountable. So in these local matches I do go to, and when I do actually get out to the range, I'm focusing more on mechanics, first shot consistency, first shot accuracy, and first shot confidence. Because when you're out there, like I said earlier, at 3 o'clock in the morning going up to a hot call where so-and-so possibly had a gun, this person so-and-so might have had a knife, if you do have to use that lethal force, like you want that first shot to be the most accurate one you can possibly take.
Yeah.
So a lot of my, I guess my pistol training has gone down to being more consistent, more accurate, more confident on the draw, that initial sight press. And that can be taken so many different ways, both live fire out the range, both at a pistol match, or even at home in dry fire practice.
Gotcha.
So that's
Awesome.
kind of my main training focus has been the last few years.
So for the guy we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but for the guy who's maybe entering the academy, the guy who's getting ready to go into the military, maybe making that transition, what would your advice be to that person?
What would my advice be to that person? Ugh. Well, if you're going in the military, your advice has to be like, go ahead and get your head on straight. Have a good family life. Have a good relationship with your parents. Figure out the best way to actually set yourself up for going into it with a good, positive attitude. Because if you go into the military for the wrong reasons, you're going to have a terrible time at it. If you go in just for money or just because you think it's cool, you're going to have a terrible time at it. You got to actually want to be able to do that job. You're going to want to actually push yourself to the ends of your physical being where you're just sucking. So figure out how to actually get your head on straight, read everything you can as far as what you're going into, figure out what other guys are doing to stay physically and mentally fit before they go in, figure out what your role is going to be when you get there as a brand new guy, and take everything one day at a time. When you're signing up with that option 40 contract, or you're signing up with that 18 X-ray contract, you're going to be so wrapped around and bent around the axle of like, I'm going to be SF, I'm going to be Ranger, I'm going to be jumping out of helicopters, I'm going to be doing the most badass stuff. When in reality, no, you're going to basic training. You're going to get your head shaved, and you're going to be eating crap food for a while, and you're going to be woken up at terrible hours in the morning, and you need to focus on it one step at a time. What is my first goal? What's my 25-meter goal? What's my 50-meter goal? And always focus on what you're doing the next day. For the guys and gals going into law enforcement, get ready, because it's like going back to school. The academy these days, you don't want dumb police officers on the street, so the police academies these days are going to train you up and learn you up on everything you need to know to do your job in the most efficient and professional manner you can. We are in the spotlight, I've found. We are in the spotlight. People are going to be videoing you.
Yeah.
You are going to be on video the entire time. and you have an image and you have a professional standard and you have kind of this embodiment of what you are supposed to be when you show up to someone's worst day ever, whether it's I lost my cat, I just had an accident, or so-and-so just stabbed me. You have to show up and handle it in the most appropriate manner. Focus on the individual tasks one day at a time in the academy and soak up everything you can. And when you do get onto the field and you start working with that trainer that's taking you out on the street, see how they do everything and focus on every day at a time. How can I be just a little bit better than I was yesterday?
Yeah. That's
kind of my biggest takeaway in going into this new career that I've done, is figure out the guys that I want to emulate and figure out how they're doing it and take away from that.
Awesome. So last question before we get out of here. Our motto, our mission statement at TRIARC Systems is to pushing forward. We want to provide people with the equipment to keep pushing forward, but as somebody who's actually out on the front lines, what does it mean to you to be pushing forward on a daily basis?
To always take everything that you're doing and figure out how you can improve upon it, and then go from there. Everything I've known about all the TRIARC Systems products, they have always continuously gotten better and better and better. Not to say that anything in the very beginning was bad. It was already light years ahead of what everyone else was doing. But now it's evolved into this work rifle, these service rifles, the individual officer purchase program rifle, or the centrifuge work guns. These are guns that you can depend on, and they're made and built by subject matter experts that know what they're doing. It's something you can actually put your life on. It's something you actually respect. It'll treat you good if you treat it good.
Awesome. Perfect. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Check us out next week as Brandon talks about the gear that he uses and why he uses it. And then he's going to take us through some drills as well. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and ring that bell so that you can be notified every time we post a video.
Thank you, man.
Thanks. Appreciate it, bro. All right.